everyone, and welcome back. So, in our last little lesson, we talked a bit about, finding the right font, or typeface and, finding the different font styles work for you and, testing out with elements. And the next part is, we're actually gonna start creating a typography system. When I approach a typography system, there's a couple of things that I do. I have my font. I have little bolds over here. I like to use a headline. Find the stuff that you love. I like to get a bunch of different things going here. Let's actually get one for body copy. So we may just get lorem ipsum, maybe 3-sentence paragraph. Okay. Maybe that's a larger paragraph, and then maybe we have a little bit of a smaller paragraph. So let's get that ready. So I urge you, design along with me. Do your own thing. Do what works for you. It's all about having fun. And just exploring all the different ways we can kind of build out a type system. This is what I'm going to do. So I have a bunch of things that all kind of look alike. Now, I need to think about the different types of content I'm going to have in our mobile application. We're going to have headings. We're probably going to have subheadings. We're probably going to have body copy, smaller body copy. We're going to have labels for inputs. We're going to have links, probably. We're going to have hint text. And I start essentially thinking about all these different typographic elements, and I'm going to just start kind of mocking them up. So 32 pixels is probably a good size, maybe 36 for a bigger headline. And for some larger body copy, I can do 16 or maybe 20. And I'll set that to 115%. I like to use actual pixels for the line height. You can do it based off of a percentage. It's totally up to you what you think is best. So I'll probably do 24 pixels. Oop, not 24%. 24 pixels. And I think that's totally fine. What I'll do is I'll also kind of make it medium. I'll bring this in. This will probably be my main body copy at 16 pixels. And, the line height probably around 20 pixels. And there we go. Regular. Okay, so we start to see how things may actually play out here. I think right now we have some really interesting things. I like to kind of try to establish some sort of visual hierarchy. So the visual differences need to be obvious enough to instantly understand the importance of each element. And that is key. So, if we're talking about buttons, headlines, we're talking about, I remember the elements that we made last time, which were prices and product names. So we need to really think about how those different elements are going to look and how they're going to play well together. So I like to kind of start creating stuff like this to really establish some sort of hierarchy. And the next thing I'll do is I'll start to kind of assign some preemptive roles. So I know this is a heading. So I know maybe there's a 36 pixel heading. I'll probably have a 40 pixel heading. I like to use a really tight line height because, mobile, I don't plan to have these headings wrap. So, maybe this is my H1. This is my H2. If I'm thinking about semantic handling of our headlines. What else is there? Maybe there's a 32 pixels. So I'm starting to think about all the different headlines I may have in the variety. That really helps me kind of start building out this type system a bit. So for a 32 pixel headline, what do we have here? This is 32, this is 36, and this is 40. So maybe 36 is on the variation there. So I'll scrap that, and I will go with 32 by a 36 line height. And while I'm kind of assigning these rules, nothing is set in stone. But what I can do is if I'm starting to really this kind of the text scale I'm building, so I'll just keep on going. So if I go from 32 to 28, and let's create a couple more. So I got 20 pixels, maybe 20. I'm just trying to create enough variation so that when you go down to like a lower size, it's enough like contrast between the previous one. You have 20 pixels and 16 will probably be the next one. So that's good. And what else is there? Maybe like 12? I think 12 is the lowest we'll go. And we may not even use that, but I think it's good to just have. Okay. So we have all these. We may use like extra bold. Okay, so what I will do now is, now that I know like I have an H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'll start actually assigning roles. So I know this is my H1 and I'm happy with it. I'm going to actually create like a style for it. And what I'll do here is I'll actually go into my text, go bar over here, go into styles, and this is how you add a style. So I'm going to create a category called headings. This is just the formatting of it all. Headings, and I'll do slash. Then I'll name it. So I'll call this like H1. What size is this one? I think this is 40 pixels. So 40 pixels. Ooh, I wrote 20. 40 pixels. So there it is. I'll create that style, and you'll see that if I go into here, or if I just click off and I just click onto my canvas or my frame, I'll see all my local styles. So there's one. And the great thing about this is that I'll just click this and I will go over here. And I can just select that style. And now I can use that across my whole actual library. So I can use that across like all my different types of like pages that may be linked to this, which is amazing. And I will do that for the rest of them. So I will, once again, go headings. I will slash, and I'll call this like H2, and this one is 32 pixels, I believe. And there you go. And it shows up right there. So for body, I would do something very similar. What I'll do is I'll go into my styles and I'll type in body and I will say large. I think this is 20 pixel. I know that if I have a larger paragraph I want to display or a larger copy, maybe it's like a quote, maybe it's like, copy after a headline, not necessarily body copy that we read all the time. And I will use something like that. Same with this. I will do the exact same thing. So I will go body, I'll call body, and I'll call it regular. And this is 16 pixels. Great style. These are my textiles. They're all separated based off of what I've created. So let's go in here, and when I go to select a textile, I'll see that I have to separate my body and headline. So the goal here is to really try and create a bunch of different like roles that you're going to be using for your type system. So I like to use like a couple of variances of the body copy. So I'll just disconnect this class, so detaching the style. I'll probably have like a 12 pixel smaller body copy. And this will be like 16 pixels in height and line height. So really easy to read, and I'll just create a style right there. I'll call it body. I'll do SM for small, and I'll just say 12 pixels. And there you go. Like now we're starting to create a bunch of different things. I also think of like labels. So if I just write label, I'll detach that again. And if I think about the type of label we'll have, maybe it'll be like 12 pixels. I think about the label it'll have, it'll be probably around 12 pixels. So maybe it's like a bold. And I think like it's not going to wrap to a second line, so I can leave it at 100. And I'll just create a style for that. And under that, I may just call it like text or miscellaneous or forms. It really doesn't matter. I mean, it's going to be what you're going to be using and what you're comfortable with. So I'll call it label. And I'll just say like 12 pixels. So there we go. Like we have a bunch of different like styles that we already created, and it's like the beginning of your type system. I mean, nothing is set in stone. Go through it, see what works best, and you can update these styles all the time. So if I notice that this isn't working that well, I'll jump into here. And I will go to this little button that says edit style with my style selected. And I can edit it up here. And I can change anything from like the line height. I can change all the little details, like if it's in all caps. And that is essentially the easy way to create a type system from scratch. I mean, you'll have to go through different types of like body copies that you think work. Maybe there's alternate versions. Maybe there's different headlines, sub-headlines. Think about the product that we're building and the different types of pieces of content that we need and just keep on going. I mean, have fun with it. It's totally such a fun exercise because you can do what we did in the last lesson and start building different types of like components, and you can really start to see the different types of things that we're going to need in terms of typographic elements. Go out there, have some fun, build your own type system. At this point, it doesn't necessarily need to be so complex because we'll get into that even later, but start having fun so that when we actually get into visual design and designing actual like interfaces with color and all our elements, we are going to like, it'll speed up our workflow to use things like our local styles. So go ahead, create your own type system, and we'll definitely use that in our next couple lessons.